just looking at this slide, a combination of these three would be necessary. Strong customer authentication alone is not enough. And then the root check should be a must. I think it should. Or at least if the bank wants to take some risk, should notify somehow, maybe a pop-up or a push to the user saying that you are using a jailbreak, a root device, so the risk is only on your side, because otherwise the risk involved in using such a device is quite high. We did a lot of testing where starting from such a device we managed to compromise applications. So I think that should be a must. Or if they still want to allow, just to please the customers, somehow formally communicate to the customer that they are doing on their own risk. And device binding should be a must, I think. Also should be, but also the customer should have a secure channel to bind multiple devices if he or she wants. Yeah. So maybe through the internet banking where they do authentication with hardware token and so on, they can bind a smartphone, a tablet, so the multiple devices they can use in different situations. So this should not be a restriction, but it should be binded to the device, because this is also quite important. There are a lot of applications we saw from testing that allows doing backups, that allows going into debug mode, and sometimes this is not only in development stage but also in production. So with this type of settings, you can easily move the application to another device sometimes. So this should be considered. I don't know, any other idea if my colleagues have?
Cristea. Hello. I think all three, it's important for sure. It's hard also to keep up with all the internet bankings, because we as a large bank, we have a lot of internet banking solutions, but all the new ones and what we are migrating and refactoring, we are migrating to having strong customer authentication, root check, and also device binding. I think all three are very important, and not all, maybe other things as well.
Mr. Bucur?
That looking... M-aude cineva? Looking at the number, I think that is difficult to answer. And it's an adventure to answer in this moment, because statistically speaking, the number represents nothing. So I think that we need some time to have some experience regarding this kind of tools, and now it's difficult to answer. You talk about this in your speech, that we have to stay and see what's important. Important for the fintech is to have all these services implemented, and we can choose and to configure our application and to see which is chosen by the people, by the customers. I don't have in this moment a clear opinion about that.
Mr. Arikan.
So yes, as I have mentioned partly this topic in my presentation, so I will put this customer authentication parts aside for the time being. So maybe we should first concentrate on this device binding and root check, because it's kind of more related. As I have mentioned, so it is the first step we should doing. So maybe 1.3, the device binding to start with. So when we want to do strong customer authentication, when we're talking about multi-factor authentication, you know, there are we should to verify at least 2 out of the 3 factors, which is something you know, something you are, and something you have. Something you have in this case is the device itself. So we need to be able to distinguish whether that particular device that user is using is the same device he has been using all the time before that. The device needs to be associated with the user anyway. And then I agree that we shouldn't, it depends to the policy of the bank, but it should be flexible enough at the same time, as you have said, that we should still allow the user to use multiple devices, yet we still need to know which devices that user is using before even allowing the user to authenticate himself, providing his PIN, password, biometrics, whatever, as the second factor. And also because of the usability requirements, if we can apply a proper way of binding the device to the user, we can easily avoid multiple checks of the user, and then maybe only ask, as I have done the presentation on the live demo, I only need to provide my fingerprint just to authenticate myself with the SCA. So the Strong Customer Authentication, it was there, but I only needed to put my finger on top of it, because before that I have already bound the device to my identity. So this is not only because of the security requirement, also it is it should be there for the usability purposes. The device binding is this, everything we should start with. The root check, so the root check is, yes, it is mostly considered as root or jailbroken check, but it is not only that. Maybe another question we need to ask on top of that is, yes, the device might be rooted or jailbroken, and we also need to verify whether other risk factors associated with that device besides it's being rooted. Yes, rooted is increasing the risk associated with the device being rooted, but also the presence of additional malware, the presence of additional viruses, or the lack of security patches, stuff like that should also be considered alongside with the root check. And as a security vendor, we already know that there are methods that try to hide the fact that the device has been rooted or jailbroken. So if you check this in a more simplistic way, I might say, you can be fooled. Even you could end up that the device is not rooted, but in fact it might be rooted. So there are multiple ways to check whether the device is rooted or not. So you should use such a technology or such multiple sensors to check that in that case. So once we have done this device binding by applying multiple, checking multiple factors, hardware factors of the device. So not only checking the UDID code, maybe also checking the serial number of the CPU, multiple factors associated with the device, and checking additional risks associated with the device. Now we can apply a policy on top of that, whether we should be allowing the user to log in or not. So, and it's also always with the bank. So the bank can allow rooted devices to log in or not. So depending to the policy, then the Strong Customer Authentication takes place, of course, and we should do this. Yes, it is. Okay, this is a statistical. Yes, it's a 33% said yes, 67% said no. But in fact, we should definitely apply SCA on those devices.
They are orientative. Does not represent the opinion of the entire banking industry. I just want to emphasize that.
Okay. This is
I mean the statistics, the results, the final results.
This is the opinion of?
We are not having here more than 100 opinion, let's say.
Okay, this is just a limited.
Right.
Okay. Doesn't matter. So I actually it is.
That's why I said they are only orientative, just for starting point to discuss.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Bertea.
It's very difficult to find some addition to the already spoken truth.
Next time I will start with you.
I was focusing more on the gray area. I was not expecting to have 42% of the respondents say they don't know or they don't want to answer. I was actually expecting them to say that it's as a bare minimum root check should be performed, and on the display now we have a process and two controls. As most of us are involved in the information security and control area, I believe we should add the word better to the title. How to better secure our applications, because most of them are already at a certain level of security. But coming back to the results, of course, root check should be a must, must be a must. Of course, we have to take a lot of additional controls, not just root checking, in order to achieve the level of security that our company wants and needs. And of course, we have to align with the company risk profile. Some companies may choose to allow rooted devices or jailbroken devices to connect and take additional controls that might make this application, their application, more secure than others that don't. And of course, the root checking process is not foolproof. It has its disadvantages. Now, to wrap things up, my honest opinion, and it's my own, it's not my company's opinion, and it's not the Romanian Banking Association opinion, is that we need to assess every layer that can be secured. And by that I mean the logical layer. The flows must be secure. Then again, the technical measures must prove as to be a background for promoting security. We must have the means to implement security controls. And in the end, we need to promote awareness to our customers. The fact that we don't allow rooted devices to connect is a way of promoting security to our customers. Perhaps they are not aware that their device was rooted. Perhaps they bought it that way. We found rooted devices being sold as new in Romania from large retailers. They were rooted out of the factory. It's not the consumer's fault. And the company needs to take care of those consumers as well. We need to act in their best interest regarding controls, regarding awareness, and regarding, of course, statistics.
Mr. Taraianu, from a fintech point of view, how do you
so
say
I think only the fact that we have three. So I would take all these three as best practices. Okay, that's my opinion. We shouldn't invent our own secure ways, right? We should always follow the best practices. And if we have all these three questions here on this slide, that means these three should be considered and should be taken as best practices. And we should take them, but with a very important mention. I think somebody said it before me. Combining them, but offering a good user experience. And I believe that's the art. Okay, because only having one or the other, and then you remain exposed on the third one. It's you know, less than ideal. The other idea I have is strong customer authentication for some of the APIs is a must, right? So for PSD2, we know it's part of the standard, so you need to have it. And then the other two, I think they are connected. So you can protect yourself by implementing device binding from the root check. Okay, so I think it's a combination, like my co-panelist said.